Executive Vice President. And we also have Jason Hagopian, President of the MCAD Board. So first, on the agenda, we have our introduction by Robert Ivey. Robert Ivey is the Executive Vice President and Chief Executive Officer of the American Institute of Architects, a dynamic AIA network of more than 95,000 member architects and design professionals, and 200 chapters committed to enhancing the built environment. After 10 years of service, he is retiring to start a new chapter. He has strengthened the association through advocacy, public outreach, and education initiatives that help members serve clients and communities in a global era of challenge and change. Under Robert's leadership since 2011, the AIA is transforming to serve the architectural profession to the 21st century. He has repositioned the AIA from its rich legacy into a proactive, responsive, and influential organization. Chief among his and the organization's accomplished goals have been highlighting public awareness of the value and relevance of architects. Signature accomplishments include streamlining AIA government to improve decision-making, building a new digital-first technology infrastructure, and launching an award-winning public awareness campaign. Robert's latest focus is shifting AIA resources to prepare architects for their role. I'm sorry. What did I do? I'm sorry. For the role in addressing today's pressing issues, climate change, sustainability, and the impact of design on public health. So we'll give it to Robert Ivey.
Good evening to all my friends in Miami, to Cheryl and your board and everybody who's gathered together. This is Robert Ivey, and welcoming you all from Washington, D.C. While the heat index in Washington is certainly intense, and we are enjoying air conditioning, parts of our country are more seriously affected. And the East Coast is now washed in the smoke from the West Coast and the fires that are burning there. We're living in a very, very challenging time. And as some of you have heard, I will be transitioning from this role as CEO at the end of this year. So thank you for inviting me. But I thought I could give you a couple of reflections on where we are and where we really need to go. When I came into this role, I think the AIA was being effective in many ways, but we weren't seen as necessarily a bold leader. And I think that after 10 years of this work, I can share with you that we are in a different place from where we were before. For one thing, we have taken strong positions on issues that are important for this and for the coming years. We started a process called repositioning that few people understood, but really it had to do with reforming the basic framework of the association. That included our digital platform from soup to nuts and our governance structure. We needed to be able to make decisions more quickly, and today we can. And in fact, we're standing up and taking positions on important issues of our time, like climate change, for instance, and like on equity, diversity, and inclusion, and dismantling systemic racism, which has infected architecture just as it has infected many areas of society. The good news is that we can make a difference when we act together, and we have been acting together, and I think in strong and effective ways. For instance, equity, diversity, and inclusion. The association, and I mean at a national level, at a local level, has been working to attack, let's call it inequities in the marketplace and in the profession for opportunity. Among the things that we've done, and I hope you all are aware, are our guides for equitable practice. And we will be coming out with 2 new ones this year. We're very pleased with them. We have been doing a summer internship with students from historically Black colleges and universities with our new building program in Washington. Very exciting. I met with them yesterday and they were eager and excited and have been really taking part in the design thinking for a new home for AIA. We have broadened this effort widely. Our Women's Leadership Summit has now grown well over 700 people want to attend this every other year event. And I'd say it has been a real catalyst in helping to right size the number of women in the profession. We're still far from the goal, but we're on the road. We have been part of the industry in helping to address this question. With NIBS, for instance, we're members of a roundtable, a consultative council, and we will never solve these alone. We're going to do this with other people. That is one area of work. Another is our membership, and our members have been staying with us. We've, despite the pandemic, have registered over 90,000 people annually, very close to our historic high point. So the association is strong, and you are the reason. You've stayed and you have things that you need to accomplish. How are you doing? Well, it's been a challenging, obviously, 2 years, something unprecedented in any of our experience. But we are producing, and is just coming out, a compensation guide, a firm survey report that will help us all understand how we are actually doing. And our Architectural Billings Index has been showing growth. So firms are getting more work, despite the fact that this pandemic is lingering. We've launched on one new important project, and that's redoing our headquarters building, and it's going to be a model. Now, many of you who've been to Washington know the building. It's solid, let's say. It's a béton brut building, brutalist building from 1973, designed by the Architects Collaborative, but it had single pane glazing, no insulation, and some HVAC systems that were held together with chewing gum. Actually, we did a good job keeping it running, but those systems alone warranted failure at some point. We had to address them. So we're going in and bringing it up to 21st century standards, and I hope it will serve as a teaching tool for the profession, because we are definitely doubling our game on carbon. We have a great firm in San Francisco who is doing the work, and Turner Construction will be doing the construction. That won't start until 2023, renewal of the building itself. We have made a major change to our contract documents. We've gotten investment from a San Francisco-based private equity company. We've retained significant percentage of ownership in it, but they are helping us do something we could never do on our own. And our goal is not to be disrupted by Silicon Valley, but actually to stay ahead of the curve. So many people know how valuable our documents are, and we want to make them more valuable than they currently are. As you know, there is a search in place for my successor, and good luck to them. It's a hard job, but they're going to love it and they're going to enjoy it. And I commend to you to forward names to Spencer Stewart, the talent search firm, who will be holding this search. We've made a change to our total structure where we've done away with regions and now states where the real action takes place are highlighted. So this, I think, gives more autonomy to the individual states and gives them greater voice. I would say one area that I'm particularly proud of is our advocacy work. We have been kicking it, and you have helped. We have members who fly into Washington and literally go to the Hill when we can to advocate, but we've made a difference. Our language is actually flowed into the Biden administration's work on climate. We have made a difference in the tax law for architects to be more beneficial, and the PPP financing. Today, we're advocating for infrastructure, and the Senate has just passed the infrastructure legislation. And it will, we think, spur significant developments in relationship to the infrastructure that will actually be changed. My main line is wherever there's a road, there's a building. And there's also money in this legislation, if it makes its way through, for retrofit for energy. So we're encouraged by that, but I want to encourage each one of you. You have a role as a spokesperson to reach out to individuals that you know in our government at the state and national level and local level, to let them know that architects can make a difference and that our work is needed to make the changes that society needs right now. We need more housing in addition to new highways. We need better hospitals facing a pandemic. We need airports to complement new runways. We need multimodal centers if we're going to bring trains back into the heart of American cities. There's so much work for us to do. I'm excited by it, and I commend to you, get involved with the advocacy work. Let somebody know what architects can do, and it may be literally with your own school board or with your city planning commission, but we have a place and a role. And as a result, as we are heard, we will be admired and hired. Our work will improve, and it will improve not just through legislation, but people who consider architects credible and relevant for changing the environment for higher value for their clients and for the world. So go and prosper, go get them. And I wish I were with you tonight, but I know you're having a wonderful time. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Robert. Next, we will be hearing from Ignacio Reyes. Ignacio is a licensed architect with 27 years experience designing educational, religious, civic, and federal projects. He is currently Vice President, Chief Development Officer for Leo A. Daly Architects based in West Palm Beach. He leads the firm's growth plans in all markets nationally and internationally. Ignacio has been an active member of professional organizations such as the Design Futures Council, ULI, SCUP, NCARB, and USGBC. He believes strongly in community involvement and has served on many local and state organizations, including the many charitable organizations and boards, and is an active volunteer with Palm Beach County Schools. Ignacio previously served as president of AIA Palm Beach and is a recipient of the AIA Palm Beach James H. Anstis FAIA Gold Medal. He also led AIA Florida's legislative efforts, serving as vice president of advocacy for 2 years, shepherding the passage of landmark resilience and climate change legislation and protecting licensure of architects. Ignacio's tenure as the 2021 AIA Florida president has seen many accomplishments. Among them are the passage of long-sought Good Sam legislation and formation of the EDI Advisory Council and the working with colleagues in the design profession in response to the tragedy in Surfside. So I introduce to Ignacio Reyes.
Thank you so much, Robert. Appreciate it. I appreciate the invitation to be able to speak to everyone today. We hope that eventually these calls will go away. We'll be back to face-to-face, maybe someday in the next few months, hope for at least before this time next year, we'll be able to meet together in person. I'm going to, if I have the permission to do it, share my screen and share the presentation. Yep, I can do that. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen. We have a little presentation that AIA has put together, AIA Florida's put together. Kind of go over a few things and a few ideas of where certain things are and how things are coming. But again, I'm Ignacio Reyes. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. And I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you guys in person, some of you in person soon in January, but I'll get to that in a minute. What I wanted to talk about a little bit of some of the things we've accomplished. You know, we heard both from Robert and from Bob Ivey, some of the things that have happened in Florida, but they happen because we have boots on the ground. They happen because we're engaged and we're trying our best to get a message out and communicating the value that architects bring. So our legislative day was, you know, chaotic, very different than what it's normally has been in the past with the pandemic, very different, but we did it via video. We were able to connect with people and we had participation from everyone, including AIA Miami. You know, it's much appreciated. And there's a big thank you for all those that take the time to make that trip. It's not easy to come all the way from Miami to Tallahassee, but pressing the flesh and showing that your constituents are vocal and engaged has an impact. I always say this with everyone we meet with, we're small in size and dollar values, but we're mighty in our message. And we're mighty in the sense that a lot of folks tend to see architects as a credible profession, trustworthy profession, as opposed to some other professions. No offense to anyone else, but we have that ability to engender trust as professionals looking to problem solve, not a partisans, not issues of one side or the other, but rather how can we come together to solve problems. So that voice is powerful, and we get audiences at all levels of the state government. So being present has an impact, even if it's virtual. We do expect, I should say, that next January will be in person. So I'll get to that in a minute. As we've talked about, some of the things that we have been fighting for over the last several years and working so hard to get through, the big part was really the Good SAM bill, as you mentioned, getting that signed and approved that provides some level of liability coverage for architects volunteering in disasters is massive for Florida. We are always seeing the situations where there's a storm surge or hurricane damage here in the state, and for a long time, architects, even though we had the training for involvement in disaster situations, we didn't have the liability protection. We could be civilly sued, for issues associated with that. Well, that's been finally, we've been fighting this forever, finally been resolved. We have what we call our Good SAM bill signed by the governor, and it's now law. So that's a great thing. And we've also had to defend the CCNA, the state university system went after it, trying to circumvent it so it can get the lowest price points and not the highest quality. That was a battle we fought. We went after it and we won the day against any kind of cutting away at CCNA or challenging of CCNA. We also had a fight to defend the right to be licensed. It sounds ludicrous, but we were on a bill. It's just the second year or third year running. We might even see it next year about deregulation and deregulating all professions and sunsetting them, and then starting over with a recertification process. So as crazy as that might sound to say we're going to deregulate engineers and architects and everybody and just start over, it's horribly inefficient for an administration that wants to be efficient and streamlined. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. But we had to fight that, and we did. We had to bring information from agreements from last year forward to this year. We worked to rewrite that legislation to that, in essence, gutted the bill. Once our language got incorporated, it just really destroyed the bill, and it just died. So we hope this might be the last year that we see the deregulation battle come in for architecture, but we're prepared. We're prepared to go back and fight again if it comes up again. And we do anticipate there's going to be a lot of things happening this session, and we're going to need your help regarding our codes and some of the things that have happened. And I'll touch on that in the next few conversations. Our convention happened. Yay. We were in that magical moment, that little lull of where COVID was dropping off, but Delta hadn't started yet. So we had a magic moment of togetherness. We were able to connect with each other and see each other and enjoy each other's fellowship and harmony. It was a wonderful time. Miami had a great showing. Really a shout out to Glenda Puente, AIA, who really won an AI Florida award for her very first project she ever signed and sealed. So really pretty impressive, for a young professional to achieve such a great recognition. But many firms from Miami had great night. Arquitectonica Geo, Mateo, Strang, Schulman, all recognized with design awards that night. That was just a big showing for AI Miami architects. And of course, Elizabeth Camargo was elected to serve as an AI Florida Vice President. And Elizabeth has just that wonderful way of looking at things, a bright mind to ideate and change the way you look at things. So super excited to have her on the board. Not to mention, of course, the AIA Florida 2022 president, I should say, is going to be Lourdes Solera from Miami as well. So you'll have a lot of representation and voice on the board from Miami. But congratulations, everyone. The theme of that convention was transformation, and it dealt with a lot of different topics of EDI or technology and climate issues. But one big transformation I have to get a shout out is for our new executive vice president. We had notice early on in the year that Vicky wanted to retire. She gave plenty of notice. We had to conduct a major national search. It involved a lot of folks. Lourdes was part of the committee with me, as well as Steve Panzerino, Beverly Frank, and Joshua Shatkin. And we created a committee. We did a search. We interviewed multiple candidates. And of course, as you all know, Becky Magdaleno has now become our Executive Vice President and CEO. I think officially it's effective October 1, but pretty much effective now. So congratulations to that transformation for Becky taking on the role. We're super excited about that. The rest of the convention, a lot of other things that happened. We had our component challenge, FAPAC. FAPAC is part of our voice when it comes to our political advocacy, and being able to contribute to FAPAC has an impact. So when we ask for contributions and we ask for people to get engaged in the advocacy effort, a lot of people are like, what, why should I do that? When you're dealing with a legislature that literally wants to take away your license and deregulate you, that's why we need the help. That's why we need everyone to be a contributor. We saw a lot of people make contributions last year, but we're approaching a time right now where we're about to do the redistricting of all of our districts in the state of Florida, and things will be redrawn in 2022, and every single seat will be up for election. So it's a clean slate. You start over for Senate, House. That's a lot of voices coming into Tallahassee, and we've got to be engaged. So I'm making a push to please be aggressive, do what you can for contributions in FAPAC. We need those voices because we have to start supporting candidates that meet or protect our profession, meet our needs and protect our profession. So we definitely really need your help. And we will have a new House member in the Congress because the state of Florida continues to grow. So we have gained another congressional seat. So that's, again, another voice in the process that we need to have connection points with. A little bit about just some statistical data to follow up with my conversation, what's happening, how things are changing. We continue to grow. State of Florida's had 1 year of negative population growth since World War II. So pandemics, wars, recessions, Florida just keeps on growing. And that hasn't stopped. Miami-Dade County has grown. Monroe County, your areas of influence have all grown. We just see a continuing change. We were 18.8 million in 2010, and now we're at 21.5 million in 2020. Past New York as now the third largest state in the union behind California and Texas. And we continue to diversify. That's a big part of our makeup now, our demographics, is we continue to diversify in ethnicity, race, and all other categories. So we're becoming a little bit different every day as Florida continues to grow. Now, a lot of the data we've looked at, that biggest growth in Florida is in Central Florida. There are some places like the Villages that have grown the most. That's an exponential growth in the Villages. But all that, even with all the Central Florida growth, it's still the Southeast that has the bulk of the population and the bulk of the people and the bulk of the influence. So we still have a large voice coming from Miami, Broward, Palm Beach counties. That's the Tri-County area that has a big influence up into the Tallahassee marketplace. A little bit about our economy, how things are happening. After the massive downturn that we experienced at the beginning of the pandemic, we had a rapid increase right afterwards. So it was the roller coaster. And many firms, from what we've seen and surveyed and talked to, have seen that the projects didn't get canceled like they did in the Great Recession, but rather they were paused and have a concern and not knowing what the future was going to hold with the pandemic, and then a move forward from the pause into new opportunities and new work. So we saw the big drop and we see the big rise. But what's really important on this chart is what comes after the big rise. And I don't know if I don't know if you can see it on my screen, but when you look at the Q4, 21, Q1, 2102, Q2, those numbers of growth, of GDP growth, are in the 6% range. That's bigger than it was before the pandemic, far bigger than it was before the pandemic. So we are seeing almost double the GDP growth pre-pandemic now, which means our economy is just roaring, and that's going to have an impact in terms of how we have opportunities for our work and what we do as professionals. You can see a little bit here some of the changes. This is information we've gotten from Kermit Baker from AIA National. They showed Orlando as the only city on Florida in this map, in this one document, but even Orlando had a big drop and a big gain right pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, just a lot, or I should say right at the beginning of the pandemic and right after the pandemic, 11% growth in Florida. Durable goods are the big spending. So leisure and travel and dining is still hurt, which has an impact on hospitality and has an impact on our communities and where we are, especially in the Southeast. But the durable goods purchases, which lends itself to as a reflection of what construction is doing, is still growing and growing rapidly. Wages have been not quite, sorry, this is inflation. You can see, I always laugh. The lumber was 111% inflation rate. You know, we used to make fun of you see a truck of wood going by, and it was like, that's like an armored truck now. You probably needs armed guards because it was so valuable. That wood was so valuable. Even that's now that massive rise that happened after the pandemic has come down by half and likely to keep coming down. Others are starting to rise up, you know, steel is starting to go up in cost, but the others are starting to drop down in price. So we're seeing some normalization of this inflation that hopefully will help control it and not have it spike so high or progress forward with a high inflation. The wage rates have not gone up very much. That's a little conversation that we're seeing, that while the construction values have gone up, the wages have been slow to catch, but we predict that's going to chart inching its way up because we see the desperate need that firms have for labor, for talent, and that's going to push wage rates up quite a bit as people are fighting for new talent and across the board. And Florida is no different than any other part of the country. It's been hard and challenging to hire qualified architects anywhere, and it's we predict that's going to have an impact on the wage rates. Again, from AIA National, they're looking at the billing index. We see an extraordinary amount of consistent growth post-pandemic. Again, it goes back to the idea that projects didn't get canceled during the pandemic. They just got paused and they got reactivated with new projects and new spending getting engaged. And we're seeing some significant opportunities right now, which is really, really great. And we predict that's going to continue on through the fourth quarter, pretty strong for construction, for our design fields and professional services. You know, design contracts have been tracking on a high pace, on a continued high pace. There's no real slowing down on design contract activity. So it should be, again, should bear very positive for us as a profession in architecture going into the next quarter, even into the next year. The backlogs have all started to go up. You can see the drop during the pandemic and then right back up again. So our backlogs are up right almost close to the a little bit above the pandemic level, pre-pandemic levels. There's just a lot of activity happening that demonstrates that we've rebounded. The pandemic hasn't, thank goodness, challenged the profession harder than we thought it would. We all, I think all were expecting some really difficult times, didn't really know what to expect from a pandemic, from a shutdown and everything else. And I think the professional services world, architecture, engineering, and others have really bounced back pretty strong through the pandemic and proven that we can work from anywhere, that as long as we can ideate and problem solve, we can be creative from any place. You know, Robert Ivey mentioned AIA National's advocacy efforts with influence on bills in Congress, and they have had some big influence. And there's a lot of activity in terms of the federal infrastructure legislation. So the bipartisan bill that is partially passed and still there, waiting to see if the other one goes through, and all that kind of partisan fighting. The infrastructure bill that is passed, partially passed, has a lot of things that impact our profession and gives us an opportunity to help assist our communities. There's $3.5 billion for weatherization assistance. There's $250 million to make energy and water efficiency upgrades to federal buildings across the country. There are block grants for smart grid development for cities and communities. There's $40 million to establish grants to conduct energy audits for public facilities. You know, architecture isn't just built in just one part of the building. You know, we have that holistic view of projects from soup to nuts, and which gets into the whole energy efficiency, the resiliency, you know, sustainable strategies. We can participate in all of these activities for our businesses. You know, there's another $500 million in grants for energy efficiency improvements in schools. So big school districts will have opportunity to apply for grants to impact or augment their already robust building programs going on dealing with energy efficiency. There's 500 million in grants for disaster relief, a billion for FEMA's building a resilient infrastructures and community programs. And these are all things that are out there that we as advocates can help our communities latch onto, use, get a part of to help fix or repair or modernize some of our public infrastructure. So, as a state that has a lot of disasters, we know that if we can spend some money up front, we have a bigger return. So we know that on a study was done recently, that mitigation grants that's save almost $6 for every $1 spent. So if we can mitigate some projects and develop some things that help buildings become more resilient or retrofit them, we can save a lot of money. When $1 in retrofit saves $4 in long-term expense for damage. So it matters to have that infrastructure bill passed, and it matters that has opportunities for architects across the board. The 2022 session, obviously we're all very close to the tragedies that happened in Surfside. We don't know still what happened and why it happened, but we do strongly believe that Surfside will be much like Hurricane Andrew was to Florida many years ago. It's going to have a dramatic impact on our building codes, have a dramatic impact on our certification of buildings, on the role the architect and the building inspectors play in long-term recertification of structures, especially along the coastal zones, all throughout Florida, from Jacksonville to Miami to the Keys to Naples to Tampa, Pensacola, Destin. We're having there's going to be a tremendous impact. We recently attended a forum hosted by the International Code Council where we voiced concerns, have fostered language that has been included in the ICC's most recent kind of addressing these issues of certification of a whole building envelope, not just structural concerns, but the whole building. Structure can get impacted if the envelope leaks. So if the envelope's not working well, the structure can have issues. So it's not just a specific one idea, but we have been at the table. AIA Florida has been involved. We've had volunteers from across the state be part of this conversation and work with giving our voice into creating new ideas or making sure that things aren't being done without thinking about the whole building perspective. So we anticipate legislation. We have modeled some language for a holistic view of certification of buildings from the entire state versus just piecemeal everywhere and different rules. We're preparing that to go into the session in terms of offering up our advice and our expertise to the legislature as we start approaching recertification of buildings in a rapid fashion. Again, we don't know the cause. We weren't even talking about the cause, but we know that there's going to be issues associated with certification processes, and we want to make sure we were at the table and having that holistic view. As I mentioned before, we are in the moment of redistricting. There will be a lot of things happening from an advocacy perspective. So it's important that we have that voice and we're connected to that group. And we have our, when we're offering solutions. So, we'll be present in anything that happens in the legislature, whether it's a CCNA attack or deregulation or anything else. We're going to be present and have a voice and protect the professionals across the state. I would ask that as you talk to other architects, emerging professionals, or registered architects, others in the area that may not be members of AIA Miami and they're in your community, offer up that we were the ones that helped defend their license. We were the ones that helped defend quality-based selections. We're the ones arguing for sea level rise mitigation studies that we're helping create resilient communities. That's all happening at the advocacy level that we do as volunteers. They need to be part of that volunteer process. And that is what AIA does as a professional association. We're part of that process. We're communicating the value of architects to the legislators that decide things. So there's a lot that we do, and that is the why they should join. So please spread that word, try to get more people to join. You have a talent-rich environment, if you will, from a community perspective. There's a lot of people in Miami that can be part of AIA and lend their talent and their voices to help us be more successful in the future. So with that, I will stop talking, which I love to do normally, but I'll stop talking for now. And thank you again for having me and being able to share a little bit of what AIA Florida has done. I think Becky's going to say a few words.
No, thank you very much, Ignacio.
Yeah.
And next, I'd like to introduce Becky Magdaleno. Becky is the CAE, has served AIA Florida since 2011. Becky served as the president of the AIA Council of Architectural Component Executives, the CASE, in 2019. She served on the AIA Strategic Council in 2019 and the AIA National Board of Directors in 2020. Becky has also served on numerous committees and task force for the Institute, including the Core Member Services Task Force, setting the accreditation standards for components, and co-chairing the task force that formed the new Component Investment Fund, otherwise known as the Revenue AIA National Shares with Components. She also received the CASE Emerging Leader Award in 2015. She will assume the role of AIA Florida Executive Vice President and CEO on September 30th, so about less than a week away. So Becky.
Yay, Becky!
Thank you, Ivey. Thank you, Robert, and thank you, everybody. Thank you for your kind words, Ignacio. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm just very honored. Cheryl and your entire team, you guys have a great team in AIA Miami, and you are just a stellar component, one that is looked to nationwide as one of the great AIA components and a standard for everyone else to achieve. So I look forward to working with you. I hope to continue the relationships that we've had as a state, local, and national level. I hope to just make that even better than everything we've done before. I will echo what Ignacio said about the advocacy efforts. We need you. Southeast Florida, Miami, you know, you have one of the larger legislative delegations. We need your participation. In addition to Legislative Day on January 25th, we are also doing some fall outreach with in-district meetings, and we need your participation in that. Your efforts, your conversations, they make that difference. They are the difference between legislation passing or failing. And I know many of you, even Cheryl, you know your legislators personally. So anytime you call up and talk to them, that makes a difference when they hear from a constituent. I am just looking forward to everything, especially looking forward to working with Lourdes next year. So we are going to have a great year. AIA Miami will be a huge part of everything AIA Florida does. So hey, yay, Lourdes, there you are. So we're going to have a great time. Looking forward to everything Lourdes has planned, and just looking forward to everything. So thank you for your vote of confidence. I know everything will just go higher and better. So thank you.
Thank you, Becky, and congratulations again, and we look forward to you serving in your new position. I'd now like to talk about the state of our chapter. And first, I would like to thank Cheryl, Marilyn, and Colleen, our staff. They are just excellent, and without them, we wouldn't be able to do anything. So I just want to say thank you very much for everything that you do and help providing all of the programs and services that we are able to offer, because we wouldn't be able to offer them without them. And it has been my great pleasure to be the chapter president this year. Through this pandemic, we've continued to provide our programming and support for our members. It's been a little difficult, as everyone knows, but we've been able to get through it. Our membership has been strong. We were very scared that we were going to, have a drop in membership. And as Ignacio said, our membership has been strong. So we want to thank everybody for, choosing to renew your membership or even just start a membership. So we just want to thank you again for that. As president, I have been able to personally grow, and I've been able to work with many talented and thoughtful people. I've also learned to be more mindful about the people around me and the people that we're serving, and especially those who don't have the same access or opportunities. We talk a lot about equity, diversity, inclusion, and that's just something that AIA has been at the forefront of. We've been working with NOMA in providing the programming relevant to today and the issues that our society has. So we just want to thank our partners that we have, like NOMA. And I'm always amazed at how much our built environment influences us, and how we think, we are the ones that are responsible for creating this built environment. We have opportunities and obligations to challenge each other, challenge our clients, to do good and do right by our community. we have been working on our strategic plan, and the four main topics of our strategic plan have to do with engaging membership. And this is with us reaching out to our younger generation, those coming out of school, just trying to be more involved with them so that when they do graduate, they will take advantage of that free 16 or 18 months of membership. And then also just be involved in our programming, in our committees. And it also has to do with our diversity, equity, and inclusion, that we want to make sure that we're not leaving anybody behind. And we advocate for architecture. Ignacio went into a little bit more length about this, about deregulation, the CCNA. These are things that are very important to the profession as a whole, and AIA has been in the forefront of that. And also citizen architects, the architects that are getting involved with their local governments and participating, whether either as an elected official or on some type of a board.
Made yourself silent,
You're
Robert.
muted. You muted yourself.
I'm so sorry, people. I will start all of that over again. Thank you, Becky. Congratulations on your new position, and that's going to be starting in about a week. I first would like to thank Cheryl, Marilyn, and Colleen. Without them, none of this would be happening today or any day at our chapter. They do an amazing job, and they deserve all of the credit for everything that happens in the association. And it's been my great privilege to be the president of the chapter this year. Through the pandemic, we've been able to continue the programming and support of our members. And I personally have enjoyed this because I've been able to grow. I've been able to meet and work with very talented and thoughtful people. I've also learned to be more mindful about the people around me, and especially those who do not have the same access or opportunities that we might have. Through our collaboration with NOMA, we have provided programming relevant to the diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that's been very important to make sure that we are building for everybody, and everybody is included. Everybody has a seat at the table, and everybody has a fair share. And I'm always amazed that how much our built environment does influence us and how we are the ones who are responsible for creating the built environment. We have an opportunity and an obligation to make change for good. So it's up to us to be out there to promote architecture in general, and to just make sure that we are the ones who have a seat at the table and have a voice. Our chapter has been going through our strategic plan. We have four main topics of the strategic plan. The first is engage membership, which is one of our points is trying to reach our younger generation, those who are coming out of school, and working with them while they're in school so that they will be part of our organization. They know what we are, they know what we do. And part of engaging our membership, again, is going with the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and make sure that we do have everybody at the table. And advocating for architecture. I know Ignacio went into this in a little bit more depth, but we are working with our local governments, state governments, and even national during legislative days. The big thing was deregulation. We were able to show that we deal with health, safety, and welfare, and this is not something that should be deregulated. The CCNA, procuring architects, the qualifications for that. And then also citizen architects, those who are going for, elected offices, or just being part of some type of a board or with their local government. The other thing that we've been working on is the business and career support, our learning opportunities for all of the continuing education that we need, our leadership and mentorship programs, and then our university connections. Again, just making sure that we are part of the students when they come out, that they know what AIA is, what AIA does, and will be part of it. And hopefully they do take advantage of that free 18-month membership. The other topic that we have is the community impact. And this is regarding climate change and social justice, workforce access and scholarships. And I know Elizabeth Camargo has been very influential with resiliency in getting a mutual understanding with Miami-Dade County, so that after a disaster, architects are then able to go and assist and evaluate structures or whatever we need to do. And as part of the Good Sam legislation that went through, that we are not going to be held responsible. We also have been, part of the mayor had put together a task force after the Surfside collapse. She reached out to us, asked us for a member to be put on that panel. So we did that. So we have been involved with our local government, with the mayor. And, thanks to Cheryl, we have so many of these great relationships with our elected officials. So we just want to, say that we are working with everybody to do that. And if anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat. They will be read out after this for myself, for Ignacio, Becky, anybody. So that's basically the state of the chapter that we have right now. As I said, our membership has been fantastic. We thought that we were going to be losing members, with the pandemic and everything that was happening, but we did it. Everybody stayed, they renewed. We had, people joining. So it's been very, very successful. We also were, very fortunate that with the pandemic that we have been able to provide our programming. We really didn't miss a beat, which was a pretty good accomplishment. Everybody knows, I think right now our community has a building boom going on. So I hope everybody can take advantage of this and do great work. And we also will have in next week, starting October 1st, is October month. So we're going to be celebrating October architecture through the entire month. And we really would like you to check out our calendar, be involved. We have the Design Awards celebration coming up. And I know Craig will be talking about that in a few moments, but we just want you to be involved, reach out to us if you have any questions. We're here. As we always say to our public officials, we are a great resource. If you have questions about, building and all of that, we have a lot of information. So please, reach out to us. Also participate with us. That's the most important thing. You have a voice, so let's put the voices together so we can be heard. So thank you very much. And if anybody has any questions, we can go through them now. Did anybody have anything?
We don't have any questions now. Why don't we just move on and we can do that. We can do Q&A at the end if anything comes up.
Sure. Okay, thank you. So I do want to thank our 2021 board that's been serving with me this year. We have the President-elect Craig Akar, our Vice President Isis Fumero, Amanda Rosenfeld. Our secretary has been Neda Otero. The directors are Stephanie Casiergo, Kobe Karp, Carla Valdivia, Christian Vidal. Our state director is Elizabeth Camargo. Naomi Harrison is the associate director, as well as Sarah Malabranchi, and our immediate past president, Daphne Guri, and our representative from DASH, which is Eric Hankin, our FIU representative, Jason Chandler, the University of Miami representative, Stephen Frett, and the Miami-Dade College representative, Mario Ortega. So thank you all very much for your service this year. I know many of you will be continuing on next year, and some of those who are not continuing on are doing other things, so we wish them well in what they're doing. So I just wanted to say again, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure serving with you. And
Before we go to Craig, Robert, I thought we might ask all of the board members that are on to unmute their video so we can see their faces.
here we go. I see Craig, Elizabeth, thank you.
Stephanie, Amanda, Not Jaime, although we see him. Daphne, Naomi, Sarah, that's the 2021 board. I think that we had a couple of other people, but they had to leave the meeting. So, okay. Thanks, everybody. Oh,
Yes, thank
Naomi.
you. And Craig Carr, would you like to introduce for the 2022 board?
Yes, thank you so much, Robert. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. And I too would like to echo the gratitude that Robert and Cheryl just did for the 2021 board. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to serve on AIA Miami's board for a few years now. My name is Craig Carr, and I will have the honor to serve as your 2022 AIA Miami president. And as such, one of my first tasks is to introduce the 2022 AIA Miami board. I'm going to ask for the new board to turn on their video as I announce your name. And in the interest of time, I will not ask for you to give a speech today. So thank God for small mercies there. But we learn more about you at our Design Award celebration on October 29th at Pinecrest Gardens. So I'm going to start, of course. Robert, thank you very much. You will be your immediate past president. Monique Davis is not here, but she will serve as one of our associate directors. Naomi Harrison will be our second associate director. Nice. And our staff director, our state director, Daphne Guri. Daphne, say hello. Okay, great. Vanessa Smith-Torres is here with us. She's one of our new directors. Hi, Vanessa. Carla is not here with us today, I don't think, unless she's on the telephone. Kobe is also not here with us, so he's one of our chapter director as well. Our secretary, Stephanie Casariego. There you go. All right. And Angel Saki is here too. Hi, Angel. Amanda Rosenfeld. Amanda will be our president-elect for 2022 and our president in 2023. And again, my name is Craig Carr, I'll be your president. On behalf of the new board and the staff of AIA Miami, we're excited about continuing to serve you, our membership, and our community in 2022. We have a great momentum from previous leadership, and it is our great aspirations to continue this in 2022. So please join us at our Design Award celebration, again at October 29th at Pinecrest Gardens, where we will share with you our aspirations and our goal, our vision for 2022, when you'll have a chance to say hello to your new board and get to know more about them. With that, Robert, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Craig. And again, October 29th, Pinecrest Gardens is the AIA Design Award celebration. So we do hope to see you there. This is our biggest event of the year. It's gonna, as I said, it will finish out the month of October, which is our architecture month. Just another quick thing, looking forward to 2022. The past 2 years, we have not been able to put on our golf tournament. That is our second biggest fundraiser. And so we are hoping that next year we are able to do that. And so we will hope that you will participate in that as well. So please keep an eye out for that after we get through our October month. Were there any other questions that came up in the chat? Did anybody?
No, Robert, no questions in the chat, but one thing I didn't have on the agenda, but I wanted to congratulate Rocco Cheo as our newest fellow. And Congratulations, Rocco. We're going to be calling you soon to participate in programming.
And actually, on a similar note to that, we do have the honor awards. I know that the deadlines were just extended, so please, if you know somebody or yourself, please get your paperwork in, because that's another big thing that we like to celebrate, the people that are doing wonderful things in our community. So the honor awards, either for yourself or anybody else, please submit applications.
Absolutely.
And
With that,
if no one has any other questions, I guess we can adjourn our annual meeting. And thank you
Just
very much.
just before we adjourn, Mr. President, I'd like to also acknowledge the continuation of our school representatives from DASH, Eric Hankin, mentioned before, Jason Chandler from FIU, Stephen Frett from UM, and from Miami-Dade County, Maria Ortega. So we're looking forward to continue to work with the schools this year and to get them even more active.
Yes, thank you very much, Craig.
thanks, Craig and Robert. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. Thanks to Becky and Ignacio. We look forward to working with Becky. We're excited to have her as the new EVP for the state. And Lourdes, we're so proud of you. So we look forward to our continued great relationship with AIA Florida.
Yes, congratulations to everybody.
That being said,
Thank you, everyone.
bye, everybody. Bye. Thank you.